Good evening, YouTubers. Welcome to episode 34 of Shrigleytube TV. Thanks very much for all the nice comments on the last two videos from last week. That was great, really nice to read them. I'm sorry about the vocal on the Tuesday night video. We made a big mistake. I tried to adjust something halfway through and completely knackered all the volumes. So sorry, yeah, if it went very quiet in the second half. Now, tonight on Sunday night show, we've got all sorts going on in the week. I went on a bit of a jolly down south on Wednesday, met some really nice people, and they were very kind and let me interview them for Shrigleytube. So we've got some footage from an Aston Martin workshop and Mark Maynard's workshop, and then we've got a bit of what we've been up to in the workshop, which is all good. Now for Tuesday I'm going to do another voiceover, but I'm going to do it on one of my own videos, which will be like a racing video or something, so hopefully we'll get the volumes correct and you can enjoy that. So I hope you've had a great week, and I'll look forward to seeing you all on Tuesday night at 7. Bye for now. Okay, chapter 4 give us a 30-second update on the spceframe imp. I've done the two eyelets at the back, which is what the scrutineer Tim came and said we have to have independent eyelet for each seat harness, so got them done. Obviously I've got to do the floor ones yet. I will do those when I've finished welding all the bottom up there. I think I'm going to put a plate over it as well. And I've got my door bars in both sides, so if I zoom in over there you can see that's this new double door bar that comes down, the one that goes back across. I was quite pleased with myself. I managed to get them absolutely bob on. If I try and line them up, you can just about see. Managed to get everything uniform so that, you know, it doesn't look like it's been pig's eared. So it's obviously has detracted a little bit from the originality of the frame, but I'm hoping that it'll be a lot stronger should we need it to be stronger. Anyway, next step, sort of boot the floor out here, get these threaded sleeves in for the seat mounts, and then we can flip it upside down, start painting underneath, and yeah, start getting the aluminium panels on, start building it all up again. Very excited to do that. Okay, YouTubers, I'm just stood outside the dyno because I put the cylinder head back on this engine with some new wheel strings in, etc., and it runs absolutely terribly, and it's like it's gone really cammy. I thought I've got the cam timing out. No, anyway, I've just discovered what it is and I thought I'd share it with you. So I'm going to quickly go in there now. I've left the lights out for a reason, because it's an electrical shorting issue and it's quite interesting. I'm glad I didn't grab hold of the dizzy to set the timing, because I reckon that'd give me a right old belt. Anyway, we can fix that now. Okay, YouTubers, you may remember last week's Sunday night episode we had the engine by Mr. X that was in for a set of wheel strings and a quick run on the dyno to make sure it was all fit and healthy before he put it in his car. So this engine now is back in the dyno, I've run it. I have changed the ignition system. You may have just seen the video of the spark on the dizzy cap, so we've sorted that out as well. So it's got Lumination Magnetronic now, whereas it used to have the Lumination Optronic. So a bit more reliable than Magnetronic. There's not a lot can go wrong with it, that's why I like them. So it's on twin forces, it's an R20 sport valve with oversized ports, nothing crazy, no crazy compression, it's just a nice 998 engine. And I've reset the shim clearances, and obviously remember we saw the water on the outside of the block where the paper gasket had been leaking, so I sorted that out. Now last time we ran it, it was a bit missy, and we saw probably about 65 maybe foot-pound of torque, so I'm hoping we'll improve on that now. Obviously being a fairly mild cam, it will just pick up from literally, that's 3,000. Just about seeing at 4,000 RPM, we're just about seeing 65, 67 foot-pound. Engine's quite fit. I haven't took it apart or anything, apart from obviously the wheel strings. It's as it came to me. So 6,000, still holding maybe 70, or a bit more, maybe 75 there. We'll take it to 7,000. Yeah, so at 7 it was still holding about 70 foot-pound. So it should be a good 90 horsepower engine this. That's generally what we see out of a nice R20 cammed 998. So we'll just do some bottom end figures, make sure it's clear. But yeah, it seems to be behaving quite well. I don't want to rev it really high because I haven't had the sump off it, so I'm not really sure what big end bolts it's got on it. I assume it's got some aftermarket ones in. I don't want to blow it up, that's the last thing I want to do. So right, I've loaded it up there. So it's at 4,000, it's holding 65 foot-pound. Just lower it down a bit more. Try and get a 3,000 figure. Quite hard this twin 40s to do that, but we shall try. Still wants to go. Bit more load on. 3.5. About 63, 65. Oh, it's got it now. Oh, doesn't like that. No, we lost airspeed in the carbs. The carbs are quite big, of course. So, yeah, I think that's doing basically what it needs to do. It's still got some oil pressure. All that looks fitting well. So, yeah, we'll call that another one in the out tray. Go back to a bit of a sweep on it. 4, 5. Sold in 68, 5,000, 6. Yeah, it's about 70 foot-pound, hasn't it? Right, okay, we'll wrap that up at that. Right, we just had a bit of a trip out today to see some lovely cars. We've come down south to have a bit of a jolly day out. It's a lovely Aston Martin DB4 there. I'm just surrounded by absolutely amazing cars. This place has got, like, what can I describe as the prettiest British classic racing cars you've ever seen in your life. I mean, I've just spoke to a chap and he very kindly said to me, look, if you want to make a video for your Shrigleytube, he is actually a subscriber, he's just not too keen on being on camera. He said it's no problem, have a look round and make a video, but just look at this. It's like a space frame DB5, is it, or something? It is such a pretty thing, you know. Can you imagine the noise that thing makes when it's going? It's absolutely stunning. Not sure quite what work that one's in for. This is the apparently this is a very special, very rare car off a poster or something. I did listen to what he said, but I've forgotten already. Look at that classic. Is that an Alpine stereo in there? Wow, love it. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, Iveco van. Look at this. Full nose cone off a racing Aston. This one here, look at the sump on that. Absolutely beautiful. These cars are super pretty. Anyway, we'll wrap it up at that. I hope you've enjoyed seeing these lovely cars. I certainly have. Oh, you can be interviewed, can't you, Mike? You're keen. Interviewed about what? This is Mike Loveland. Say hello, Mike. Mike's the chap in there.
Hello, YouTubers.
Yeah.
I'm just picking my engine up. It's sort of a third of the size of that one.
Yeah, and a bit lighter. But this is the chap's build room. Now, this is what we all aspire to. Look at the cleanliness in here. It's like totally separate. All of his tools laid out neat. Cylinder. Look at them carburetors.
Got a similar flywheel there.
Yeah. It's got a bit more power going through it, I think. Look at that. It's like a dragster clutch. Triple plate, twin plate, is it? Twin. And is that 7 1/4?
No, slightly bigger.
Bigger, yeah. What a monster of an engine. Amazing. What a lovely build shop. Yeah, one day we'll get to this level, I'm sure. Hopefully. Good morning, YouTubers. Please excuse my horsey voice. I seem to have picked up some more bacteria from the children. Now, little bit of update on the mini. Oh, sorry, it's not a mini, it's an imp engine on a mini gearbox. You remember last week, Uncle Dipstick here had bought the wrong bearings because this crankshaft uses the later A+ bearing sizes. So the original Mini 1000 used a smaller main and a smaller big end pin, and then when they went to the A+ block, I think mid-80s or something, they went to a bigger main, a bigger capacity like 1275cc, and a bigger big end pin. So this is a bit of a funny combination because it's using the Cooper S 998 big end pins, which are 1 5/8, but it's using the A+ mains, which is a great idea because, of course, it gives it more strength on the overlap of the crank. You know, you can always, if you look there, you'll see it's quite a lot of material overlapping. It's a good strength point, especially on a 3 bearing crank. Anyway, I'm really happy because my new bearings arrived. So we've got some Federal Mogul mains for it at 10 thou, and I got some plus 3 thou thrust washers. So these are the thrust washers. Now these are oversized, and they're stuck in the block. So you can see what had happened originally. This bearing had been put in that way around, so the oil couldn't get to lubricate it, and also it's, you know, it's steel on steel, so it was never going to get on very well. Whereas we've got like a nice bronze material on this side, and those 2 little oil galleries there where the oil can escape from the main and lubricate the thrust, especially on the clutch side. Because if you think on this end where we've got the flywheel and the clutch, when you press the clutch, it tries to send the crankshaft this way. So this thrust is very important. Right, now what we're going to do next is, I have actually done this already, so I'm being a bit cocky here, but we're going to lower it in and see how it looks, and see if it looks like the thrust is going to be okay. I'm sure it is. Look at that. So there's our little ticket from Ken the Crank. 10 thou on the mains and 20 thou on the big ends. So it turns lovely at this stage. The question is, will it turn lovely when we've tightened the mains caps down? Now what we'll do is we'll just use this screwdriver and we'll just check the end float, because we get something called end float. So can you see that? I'll try and zoom in on the center so you can see it. There you go. That was one way, and that was the other. So I'm thinking that is, I'm thinking that's about 10 thou. I've not put a clock gauge on it yet, but we'll tighten the mains caps down first and do all that. Now the thrust clearance is really important on an engine, because quite often, like on the Imp, we have what we call like a scroll gear that drives the oil pump, and it also drives the distributor. So if you ever remember years ago, there was like a little Vauxhall engine in the Vivas, and they used to wear the thrust washers out, and what happened was the timing used to go all over the place, because as the crank floated backwards and forwards, obviously because the distributor's attached to a skew gear off the front of the crank, it used to go all over the show. Anyway, right, so what the point of what I'm saying is, because this isn't an iron block like a Mini would typically run, I'd say I'd be happy with anything between 3 to 5 thou clearance end float, because the iron wouldn't grow. But because this is an aluminium block, what we've got to remember is this sort of old-fashioned, you know, sand-cast high silicon alley, it has an expansion rate of roughly about 3.5 thou per inch per 100 degrees. So from sort of 0 to 100 degrees of temperature, that distance there, which is, if we get a measuring stick, let's say it's about 1.25 inches. So so it's gonna, I reckon that's gonna grow 3 to 4 thou, you know, from being cold to hot. So we've got to make sure we've got minimum, I don't know, we've got to allow room for the oil. I'd say 8 to 10 thou would be an ideal clearance for that middle main. Any tighter, especially people get caught out with this with aluminium engines, if you try and run a tight end float and the block grows, it'll just pinch, and when it pinches, makes a right old mess. So Ken's done a lovely job of recovering the crankshaft. Both sides are perfect now. So this engine's got as good a chance as when it was new now. Another thing I think it's worth mentioning is, and I just thought I'd look, because I just remembered as I was talking about it, is there's actually, well, there's no nick in the bearing either, but what we sometimes do is put an angle on the edge of the bearing cap, and then put a little nick in the bearing in the middle. And the idea is that as the oil goes round, it finds its way out of the nick in the bearing and along the angle, and it lubricates that thrust side, especially the clutch side, because, you know, when people doing racing starts and you know, they're holding the engine at sort of like, I don't know, maybe 7,500, 8,000 RPM on the line waiting for the lights to go out, and they've got their AP racing clutch with the strong diaphragm all being depressed and obviously in gear ready to go, so all the loads this way, a lot of speed involved. If there's not enough lubrication, it will soon wreck the thrust. I've seen a few engines with wrecked thrust because of racing starts. Anyway, I'll get the mains caps tightened down, and let's hope that it all goes round nicely. Right, I know I always rave on about the very clever chap that built and designed all this, Ian Carter, but honestly I hadn't spotted this until now. I was just telling you about how we had the thrust from the clutch, you know, the diaphragm of the clutch pushing when you depress the clutch, sending the crankshaft this way. Now on a Mini, they have two sets of thrust. They have a set of thrust in the block each side, and they have a set of thrust in the cap each side. And because Ian Carter obviously understood exactly what he was doing, he's actually put a thrust washer on this side of the cap, but realised it had no importance on that side, so it's got three thrust washers apparently, basically what I'm trying to say. So it has a thrust washer there, a thrust washer there, so it can help support the crankshaft when you depress the clutch, but it knows there's no load coming from this end, so it just literally has one thrust washer which controls the end float. Now moving on to the end float, I've just set this up here with the clock gauge on the end. So if we look at the clock gauge, if I set it back to 0, then this is a metric clock gauge, which does confuse things because I always talk in imperial. But what I want you to think of is 0.1, or where it says 10 there, is 4 thou. So it's basically got, if we move the crankshaft, roughly about 0.1, which is 4 thou. Sorry, just get my little pointer. So from there to there is 4 thou, 0.1, 8 thou, and I'd say another thou. So it's got about 9 thou end float, which I'm going to have a little bit of a sleep on it because, yeah, maybe it's got 10. Yeah, what we'll do is we'll put the block in the oven now, and we'll just see when we get the block up to sort of 60-70 degrees, and we'll see what the actual clearance is when it's hot, because that'll give us an idea, because that's a bit top limit for my liking. That we could possibly get some oversized thrust, or we could perhaps build them up from behind somehow and then grind them back on the grinder. But let's put it in the oven and see what the before we do that, pull the clock gauge off and look at this. It's beautiful, no tight spots, just turns lovely. So really happy with that. The crank's done a fantastic job of sorting the crank out, and obviously Ian's machining skills, making the block and making all the mains tunnel parallel has been superb, because it's just lovely, even though it's had a bit of war and a bit of heat into it. So yeah, it's coming on nicely, that I'm really pleased with it. Okay chaps, I've got the Mini engine out of the oven, and yeah, I'd say it's about 50, maybe 60 degrees. I can just about keep my hand on it with my plastic gloves. So obviously it's not as hot as running temperature, but it's getting up there. I'll just give it the spit test. We're nowhere near 100 anyway. Sort of steaming. Right, so sorry for the customer there for spitting at your engine. It wasn't a disrespect thing, it was just a test. Now what is really interesting is, this is the obviously the clock gauge. We've got him on the end of the crank. Now because of the expansion of the aluminium, what we're seeing now is, I reckon, about 6 thou. So 0.1 would be 4 thou, 0.2 would be 8 thou. So I reckon we're about 5 thou, which is, you know, exactly where I'd want it to be. So you can see exactly what I was saying now. If you make that clearance too tight on an aluminium engine, you can run into real trouble, because once it starts to bind as it grows, that'll induce more heat, a bit like detonation. It's a vicious circle. The more friction, the more heat, the more it grows, the more it grabs, the more heat, then it just ends up all scrap. Anyway, that's really pleasing. That, I think that'll be absolutely fine at 5 thou hot, and it's not even at 80 degrees. That's like, you know, that's, we're talking, it's down at it's got to be 50, 55, 60, and the crank turns lovely, no tight spot at all. It's beautiful. So now all I need to do is try and buy it off the chap. Right, we've got another little imp engine here in the dyno. This engine has been in a car and the chap's been using it, and it was a lovely sport spec engine. So it's got an early sport casting 107 head on it, and it's got some interesting carburetors, because these carburetors are originally from a Holbay, you know, a H120 Holbay engine. They were in the Rapiers, and the reason I can tell that these carbs are off that is they have a vent in the back of the carburetor here. This is blanked, and they run like a castellated vent, so the float chamber vents from underneath this gap. You see? Now these carburetors, for whatever reason, this engine just runs so sweetly. I mean, they've not been messed about with, you know, the spindles are all good. I've had a listen down each one, and each butterfly sounds perfect, like, you know, they're identical to each one, because a lot of times I come to carburetors and we have a situation where people have put linkages on and they've twisted the spindle, so you end up with one butterfly ahead of the other, and they never quite idle right. You never ever get them right. But these are factory fresh, these are good. So they're different, them carbs, to normal. We'll see how they perform. Obviously, the chap's been running the engine, and he said, I just want you to check it over. What do you suggest? I said, well, I suggest we put a set of wheel springs in it. And he also had an R17 camshaft that he wanted to exchange for the sport cam, so we ended up putting a set of competition valve springs in it, and re-shimmed it all, put it on the R17 cam. I didn't touch the head was mint. It was absolutely belting condition, you know. It's actually done quite nicely. It's just like a sport spec again, sport valves. So it's had a head gasket, it's had a set of wheel springs, and they cleaned the manifold up and stuff and made it all nice. So yeah, done that. But the point, I've drifted again, the point of this video is, now this is in no way a dig of the chap that brought the engine to me, but it is something that, you know, as an engine builder I should be checking all the time. But you guys, as like amateur mechanics, if you're on there just watching this to get a bit of a learn, just what I'd say as a tip is, if you undo something or you put something back together, either tighten it or leave it out, because what happened is I just saw a drip when I was warming it up, and obviously the chap's very kindly drained the oil out of it for me, so that I didn't have to drain the oil out of it when I come to put it on the dyno oil, etc. But he's just put the sump plug in finger tight. So that I should have checked that, you know, that sort of thing. I should have had my checklist out and checked that the sump plug was tight, so I didn't come unstuck. But I'd forgotten, and I've just seen a little drip there. So yeah, it's tight now. So if you, good practice, if ever you put a bolt in a hole, either tighten it or leave it out. Never put it in finger tight, because it will catch you out, I promise you, just like it did caught me out. Anyway, what we'll do is we'll get a tune out of this now. I've checked the advance. I've not touched the carbs. It's on an F7 emulsion tubes, and I thought, that's different, but it runs so well. I'm going to just have a tune out of it and see what it runs like, and we'll make a decision based on that as to whether we get involved with messing with it. Okay chaps, this is the R17 engine with the 998 and the sport head we've just been talking about in the dyno cell with the Rapier H120 carburetors. So it runs really sweet. It's almost like it's fuel injected. Picks up superbly. We'll put a bit of load on and we'll just see how much torque it's got. We've got moderate amount of advancing. We've got 35 degrees max. So at 4,000 there, it's doing a good 70 foot-pound. We'll load it up a bit more, see if we can get a 3,000 figure. Breathing a bit, not concerned about that, could just be a bit of moisture. Had a bit of water in the engine. Just, I think, been cleaned. So at 3,000 it's doing 70 foot-pound, and very, very steady, very consistent as well. Oh yeah, looks like it's going to fall off, I'd imagine. I can't imagine it's going to carry on doing that torque. It's only got an R17 cam, so it will run out of air. Back the dyno off. I've got to try and get a 4-5 figure. Just wants to go, doesn't it? Go for 5,000. Still holding maybe 75, there at 5, nice and steady. We'll back the dyno off. $6,000, still holding 70. 6.5, 68, 7, yeah, 65. It's got a bit smoky in there. I don't think it's the engine, it's just the fingerprints all over the exhaust, and of course I think we had a bit of oil dripping on the pipe from the sun plug. So yeah, that was better than I thought. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to see how it performs with, I think normally I put something like this on the F15 emulsion tubes, so we might have a look at the plug colour and then we'll maybe change the emulsion tubes and see if it makes any difference. But yeah, it was looking quite good, that for the spec of the engine, certainly anyway. Our peak torque seems to be about 5,000, so say we call it 73 foot-pound. Right, okay, you've probably just seen the picture of the spark plugs. So the plugs were all looking fairly uniform and same colour, maybe a touch on the lean side. Not too concerned about that, because obviously the engine will never get as hard a time in the car as it's getting on the dyno here, where it can't push past, if you know what I mean. So I've just changed the emulsion tubes, and I think I've basically tuned it to a standstill, although it does appear to be still doing good torque on its way there, and it's just, yeah, we've got a little bit of a lean bit there and then it suddenly goes. So I actually think it's better, it's got better fueling in the mid-range at the bottom end with the F7, so we'll go back to them. Yeah, it's definitely not as happy as it was. Still doing the power, 5,000, smidge down, yeah. So it's got the power at the top end, it's got the fuel wide open, but it's that mid-range that we've affected. So we'll go back to what we were on, and we'll let that one go out the door, I think. Okay, we're back again. I've just put it back to how it came to me. So I can instantly tell that it's happier. The fueling is definitely better, especially straight from idle. So we'll just wind him up, make sure it's doing exactly the same as it was doing when it arrived here. So yeah, we're seeing a good 73 at 5, maybe 75, holding it nice and steady. Yep, so that'll be a nice drive at that, really nice. Right, we'll call that one in the out tray. Right chaps, I've just had a ride out. I'm still down south, and I thought I'd call in and see Mark Maynard. This place has got more going it than mine, which is saying something. I mean, just feast your eyes on this engineering workshop. Look at the machines the guy's got. He's got a racing Hillman imp up here. I think that's a grass tracker, to be fair. Radiator inside it. And then over here, he's got, crikey, machines, CNCs, lathes, millers, grinders, you name it. He's got like racks of cylinder heads and oh, here he is. He's come out from underneath an engine. Mark, thank you for agreeing to come on Shrigleytube. I'll put the microphone in front of you, so it only works when it's, obviously I'm not very good with the timing. I keep on getting criticised because I have the microphone pointing at me and then you're talking. So I was just going to say thanks for letting us do a bit of video about your amazing place. And you've got some new, well, you're always developing new parts obviously, but you've got a few new exciting bits here. That manifold you just showed me, so I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agreed to interview, but anyway, we seem to be doing it now.
Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah. It's better to
been hoodwinked into it, really.
Seek forgiveness and ask permission.
We've got quite a bit going on, really, as always.
Yeah.
It's obviously the start of the racing season, so there's loads of things going on, really. There's engines everywhere, really, but trying to get it all done.
Yeah.
But,
so what's this here?
Well, it was just they're the pre-production ones of gearbox mounts. We should have those in a couple of months in competition material, and they look really good actually now.
Yeah, belting them.
Yeah, that'd be a good job. So we got engine mounts already, again in competition material, so it's nice hard rubber, so that works really well right now.
Brilliant.
We had them on test, and they seem to work really well now. And we've also got donuts we're trying to make, but that's been a bit of a long-winded job, really.
Yeah, yeah. Have you got any samples at all?
Yeah, we've got some samples, not quite right yet, but do you want to hold the?
I'll hold the microphone.
There's the phone doing it. Let's have a look. See what we got. Let's have a look at this a minute.
This place is like an Aladdin's cave. You think I've got some junk? This guy beats me hands down.
Right.
Look at this.
Right, we've got a bit more bits and pieces going on here. Let's move all this rubbish out of the way. Move that rubbish out of the way. Right, so this is your typical Lotus donut with the horrible square holes and the plates.
They often split here, you know.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. And they'll damage your drive shafts and your stub shafts because they sort of grate on there.
Right.
So we've gone back to the old type with a flat. This was it's not quite right yet because they've got the bosses a bit wrong at the minute, but it's the right size now. We've got the banding right. That's all. The banding's right.
Oh, superb.
So they're looking pretty good. They've got drawn. They've got the banding wrong. They've got the steps wrong.
Yeah, it's just prototype.
Yeah, it is. So, and the material isn't quite strong enough yet. So we're working on that. So that's work in progress. So that'll be good. What else have we got going on?
We've got a manifold somewhere.
We've got various manifolds. Yeah, we've got
plastic one.
We've got the customer's just done this. Hang on a second. Here we go. I don't think you mind if I show it.
If you don't want to, it's okay. It's fine. Wow, look at that.
He's just printed this. It's a bit of a work of art, really. He's just printed this. It's a rather special bit of kit, really.
It's lovely.
Clever bloke. We're going to get this cast and to see if we can make one for him and to do what he wants to do, like, no?
That's for like the Gen V ITB, says throttle bodies.
Yeah, it is. Yes, that's right. It is. Excellent. So that's. Yeah, clever bloke, isn't he? You know, so let's see what we can help.
Superb. I love it. Yeah. I absolutely love it. There's cylinder heads everywhere. There's engines. This is a proper mill with a proper, heavy lifting beam there, isn't it? Yeah, amazing. Right, he's on the phone now, so we'll come back to him. We'll try and get him to show us around the shop downstairs because there's so many machines that are worth a good look at. Right, I'm just here with Mr. Mark Maynard, and he's got his selection of shiny bits out to show us, haven't you, Mark? So, do you want to talk us through some of these bits of what you've had made? Obviously, I've got two hands on. I'll have to hold the microphone with that hand. Right, what I'll do is I'll just point to a few bits. So I know what these are. These are your lovely stud and nut kits for the image cylinder head.
Yep,
that makes a nice job. Yep. Puts on a UNF thread, and obviously the thread in the block doesn't suffer then because it's stationary when you torque it down.
It's more than that because for the actual same amount of torque, the same amount of clamping load, say £40 or whatever, you get 25% more clamping because you've got a fine thread and you've got the stretch of the stud as well. So you get a much more even. It's much more even. It's much a better clamping. You take a head off, you've had on with that, you would see it's even all over, not like when you've got head bolts on. Because you've got the fine thread, right? Because
the fine thread gives it, I only pull them to 35 foot-pound with the UNF thread, yeah. But yeah, fascinating. So some nice clutches as well.
Yeah, we've got new clutches. I think some people have seen these before. These work really well. We took a bit of effort to get them right. But they are really good, yeah. They work really well.
I do like this job, Mark. Yeah, it turns an imp into a sunbeam block with a rear seal.
Yeah, it does. That's perfect, that. Andy uses a slightly different version of this, but it's very effectively the same thing.
Mine's cost effective one.
Yeah, that's it.
And then we've got some steel flywheels.
Steel flywheel. We've got two types which we've got in stock now.
Yeah, that's the 5.5.
That's the 5.5. This is an IndyCar clutch on here.
Wow.
Should just about cope with the imp power, I think. So that'll fit onto there. That's it. And then this is the one we keep in stock. It's the 7.25, which are these are about 350 quid. That's for proper flywheel, decent bit of material.
Excellent. And we've got the old 73
the pistons, saving 9.8.
These are great for a worn out 998. Yeah.
Let's have a look at this a minute. There we go. You grab that a minute. There we go.
There you go. That's a Hepalite coffee.
Yeah, with big valve cutouts in, so you don't have to machine any valve cutters already in there as standard.
Yeah, great.
New type of ring, modern set of rings. They're much better than the original. Much better than the original.
Yeah, metric ring pack, brilliant.
Metric ring pack. So
they are good for the oil consumption, definitely. Excellent.
So that's that.
And we've got the nuts and washers there. And then there's a pulley there. That's one of the pulleys you make, the deep V pulley.
Make loads of pulleys.
Oh, look at that, shiny bits.
Shiny bit of bling. Got to put a bit on there. That's
Excellent.
it.
Right.
Oh,
what's this over here, Mark?
I think you've all seen these before, but
look at
a few of these now. Made quite a few of these now. Touch wood, no one's broken one yet. But, just doing another batch of 8 of those.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's keeping you out of mischief.
You're a busy man, Mark. I should disappear now back to the north. I'll have to put another jacket on because it's nice and warm down there where you guys are. And
it's probably snow up your way, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. Well, thank you very much for showing us the parts and showing us around. And I'll look forward to seeing you on Sunday night with your popcorn. Yeah.
Popcorn, definitely.
Top man. Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay, YouTubers, hope you've enjoyed looking at all those pretty little Aston Martins there. Fantastic, absolutely amazing. Thanks again to the chap who let me do the video of the workshop. That was brilliant. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday night, where we'll get a voiceover going on the maybe an in-car from back in the day in the Hillman or something. And I'll do a bit of rambling in the background. Right, hope you have a great week. I'll see you Tuesday.